When my friends found out my designer bag was not real, they did not just leave me. They erased me. Online, in class, in the cafeteria line where people pretend they cannot see you but somehow still step back like your shame is contagious. That day, the screen on my phone felt heavier than the bag on my shoulder. Both were full of things I could not afford. My name is Ava. I am 20 years old, a scholarship kid at a sunny, photogenic university in California where the buildings look like postcards and the people look like advertisements for a life I kept trying to rent by the hour. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat that breathed out warm detergent every evening. My mother is a nurse on rotating shifts. My father is looking for work again. He has been looking for 2 years. If you have ever watched a parent pretend that the job hunt is a schedule, like I have an interview, when it is only a hope, then you understand how carefully we organize silence in my family. I arrived on campus with 2 suitcases, one with clothes, the other with the ideas I thought would save me. Idea 1, do not look poor. Pause. Idea 2, become the kind of girl who never worries about the bill because someone else always reaches first. Idea 3, if I can make people believe it, maybe I can rest. It is not an ambitious plan, just a tired one. I wanted to stop working so hard at being acceptable. The first week, orientation smelled like sunscreen, new notebooks, and opportunity. There were booths and free popsicles, and a student with a clipboard who said, "You have great hair." I said thank you like it was not the first compliment I had heard in months. That afternoon, I met them, Haley, Chloe, and Emma. They stood together like a brand launch, matching nail polish, glints of jewelry that looked like good decisions, and a shared laugh that said, "We belong." It was little things at first. The way they greeted each other with a cheek kiss, and then me with a hug that hovered, as if deciding. The way Haley tossed a car key with a minimalist logo, a modest flex. The way Chloe asked where I was staying, and when I said the dorms, her eyes softened into what I later learned is rich girl empathy, the kind that curdles into pity if you hold it too long. I liked them. I liked them so much it scared me. They were funny without cruelty, attentive without being clingy, and bright in that effortless way that says a person has never had to read price tags out loud. We exchanged Instagrams. Their grids were skylines and coastline selfies and something called summering, which I thought was a verb only rich people are allowed to conjugate. Mine was a quiet puzzle of carefully cropped corners, a latte from the one time I treated myself, a borrowed sweater, a reflection in a boutique window that pretended the window belonged to me. The algorithm does not care about truth. It cares about coherence. So I made a style guide for my life.
Rule 1. Neutral colors. Beige is rich, even when it is from the clearance rack. Rule 2. Good lighting makes a cheap meal look like a ritual. Rule 3. Never tag the store if the store is too ordinary. Mystery is a luxury. At the end of week 1, Haley said, "We are grabbing late lunch off campus. You should come." She said it like a test you cannot study for. I went. We stepped into a restaurant whose napkins were heavier than anything in my closet. The menu had no dollar signs, which is how I knew the prices were expensive. It is like they removed the symbol to remove the guilt. I ordered the least costly thing I could pronounce, some kind of salad with a poet's name. When the bill came, there was that choreography people do when everyone pretends not to see it. I reached. My hand shook so little I was almost proud. Haley placed her card down on top of mine like a blanket. "New friend tax," she said. "We have got you." It was generous and also terrifying because generosity creates rumors about what you can accept next time. I promised myself I would pay next time. Next time came, and then the time after that. The lie began with a bag. Not even a big lie, just a small, zippered lie I found on a resale app with photographs bathed in the kind of lighting that forgives stitching. Like new, the listing said, gently used. So am I thought. I had $200 in my account. The bag was $185. I told myself it was an investment, a piece to make the rest of me look more believable. When it arrived, the dust bag felt like it had a secret. The leather smelled like ambition with a headache. I wore it to a rooftop study session. The wind moved through fairy lights like they were breathing. Emma noticed first. "Wait, that is cute," she said, stretching the vowel like a ribbon. "Where'd you get it?" I started to tell the truth. Secondhand. But the word secondhand put a bruise on the air. I changed mid-syllable. "A small place in the city," I said. "They don't even have a website." The fiction felt weightless, like tissue paper. It is easy to lie when the lie doesn't sound like lying. It sounds like editing. From there, the script expanded. The apartment I grew up in became my mom's place while she's renovating the house. My father's job hunt became my dad is consulting between projects. Our once-a-year diner dinner became we did a quiet family trip up the coast. If I kept sentences simple, people filled in the detail with money. They were very helpful that way. Before you decide I'm awful, I want you to know something. I never lied to hurt anyone. I lied because I was tired of being hungry in rooms where people forgot what hunger feels like. I lied because fitting in is an economy, and every day at school felt like a transaction with a currency I didn't own. There is also this. Approval is addictive. The first time Chloe posted a photo and tagged me with a little heart, my phone vibrated itself into a new climate. Comments flooded. A vibe. Love this crew. Brunch queens. And there was my face, saved into strangers' collections. It felt like a door I had been knocking on finally unlatched. I promised I would not walk too far through it. I did anyway. October came with a whisper of cold that sounded expensive. The campus swapped iced matcha for sweaters that looked like they had names. Haley said, "We should do a little weekend away. Nothing wild, a reset." She mentioned a hotel that lives on travel blogs. I Googled the nightly rate in the privacy of my shared bathroom stall and bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted iron. I told them I was in. I told my bank account I was sorry. I picked up an extra shift at the cafe off campus where the manager wears his stress like a tie. I poured lattes with leaf designs I could not afford to drink. I told myself, this is temporary. The trip will pay for itself in friendships, which is not how payments work, but it was how I survived. The suite had floor-to-ceiling windows that made the ocean look like an obedient pet. We took photos that made time look like it belonged to us. In the mirror of the bathroom, a mirror with lighting so gentle it forgave the day, I reapplied lip balm and practiced smiling like I had slept well my whole life. At dinner, there was a bottle of something aged and sparkling. "To us," Haley said, and the bubbles stung in a way that felt like I had done something both brave and stupid, which I had. When the check came, the pause was longer. It was that pause where a group silently elects someone to be generous. I reached into my bag and met empty air. Then I performed a trick common to people like me. I left my wallet in the room. I will go grab it. Haley's hand floated, easy and practiced. "Do not be silly," she said. "We are not counting pennies." I heard the word pennies like an insult and a wish at the same time. On the ride up, Chloe said, lightly, "We should do a credit card roulette sometime." The elevator was lined with mirrors. My reflection multiplied until honesty felt very far away. Totally, I said. Fun. The elevator dinged, the door slid open like a mouth. I walked into the corridor and thought about how easily a life can slide open and swallow you. The next morning, I woke with that hangover you get when the sleep was good, but the conscious was not. Emma was scrolling, sunlight cutting her face into gold shapes. "You looked really happy last night," she murmured. I wanted to tell her the truth, that I was becoming an athlete at passing, sprinting between versions of myself so fast my muscles ached. Instead, I said, I was. Later, we lay by the pool. Conversations around us hummed with familiar words: equity, internships, fund. I could hold those words in my mouth, but they dissolved into something else on my tongue: rent, shift, remittance. I noticed a tiny snag on my bag's stitching, a betrayal at the seam. Chloe noticed me noticing. "Let me see," she said, warm, and reached for it. "So pretty," she added. Her nail grazed the thread that would, if tugged hard enough, rewrite my life. I smiled, rotated the bag away, and said, "It is my favorite." When we came home, I did laundry with a guilt that smelled like citrus. I pulled the bag from the dryer sheet fog and promised it a longer life if it would promise me a little more time. Online, our weekend compiled itself into a highlight reel. Comments accumulated like beads on a rosary I did not know how to pray with. My mother called that night from the hospital corridor where the clock refuses to move. "How is school, mija?" she asked. "Are you eating? Are you sleeping?" She laughed and then coughed, the kind of cough that rearranges a person's day. I told her I was good. I told her I had friends who were nice. I did not tell her my account was a number that could be mistaken for a temperature. I did not tell her that the bag needed a restitch. Parents deserve the version of you that is not drowning, even if it means you learn to hold your breath a very long time. Midterms arrived like a weather event. I crammed flashcards into my bag next to my fear. I studied at the cafe where the staff discount could not touch the price of my exhaustion. On the wall near the register, someone had taped a comic strip about a barista who saves to see the world, but only ever sees the morning shift. I laughed, then stored the joke under, "Do not think about right now." I know what you are thinking. There is a way out of this. Sell the bag, step away from the girls, tell the truth, and smallness will feel like relief. Sometimes it does. Sometimes truth is a chair. But sometimes truth is a window that shows you the party you are not invited to, and the view will break your heart every night. I told myself I would recalibrate after midterms. I would build a new version of belonging with cheaper ingredients. Then Haley said, "Friendsgiving at my place. Potluck, but do not cook. We have a chef." She grinned like she knew the word chef would knock the breath out of me and expected me to recover. I did. "I will bring dessert," I said. Dessert is vague. Dessert can be a candle with sugar on it if you present it correctly. Haley's place was an apartment so high up that the city looked like it was printed, not real. 2 candles cost my groceries for the week, but smelled like a library that only loaned silk. People arrived with wine that had biographies. The chef assembled plates that looked like someone had edited out errors. I stood near the window and practiced looking accustomed to altitude. Emma sidled up and said, "I have a question. Do not hate me." I turned. She smiled, apologetic, and it was almost tender. "Where do you shop? You always have the best basics." The question was a handshake with a trapdoor. I said, "I do not really shop. Things find me." She clapped, delighted at my mystery, and then wandered off satisfied. After pie and kisses on the cheek and a conversation about a ski trip that sounded like a language I could not afford to learn, I headed for the elevator. Haley caught my sleeve. Ride with me down? The elevator arrived like a punctual friend. We stepped in, the doors closed, and the mirror told me I looked fine. Haley leaned back. Can I ask something a little weird? I said sure because saying sure had become my new religion. She tilted her head. Your bag. It is vintage, right? The word vintage floated like a rescue buoy. I reached for it. Yes, I said. A rare one. Haley nodded. I thought so. My cousin has the same brand. The stitching is different now. Yours is special. She smiled, a genuine sunlit curve. The elevator pinged. The door slid open. I stepped out feeling like I had been knighted by the kindness of someone who could ruin me and chose not to. For now. When I got back to my room, my roommate, Ruby, was painting her nails a color that looked like patience. She is from a town where the streetlights flicker and the library closes too early. She is the kind of friend who knows the exact price of bread this week without checking. How was it? She asked. I leaned against the doorway. Beautiful, I said, like a catalog you cannot buy. She smirked, eyes kind. You are going to be okay. I nodded, then shook my head, then nodded again, which is the choreography of 20-year-olds trying to make dignity out of debt. I want to tell you about the night I almost told everyone the truth. It was 2 weeks later, in a study room shaped like an apology. We were reviewing notes that looked like they had been written by someone confident. The air smelled like dry erase and peppermint gum. Chloe complained gently that her father's holiday schedule meant she had to choose between Aspen and Lake Tahoe, and I had the sudden, ridiculous urge to laugh so hard I would be escorted out. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Rent went up. We will figure it out. I felt like a door with the hinges pulled out. I closed my eyes and imagined saying clearly, I am not who you think I am. I imagined the silence. I imagined the aftermath, the sideways looks, the polite distance, the gentle erasure. I did not tell them. I told myself instead, just a little longer, just until finals, just until I can breathe without counting, just until I am someone else.
The crack came not from a dramatic confession, but from a practical one. A group project needed a printer. Mine at home, the one above the laundromat, had died the way cheap printers die, loudly during a job that matters. Haley said, "No worries, print at mine. It is closer." The apartment door recognized her. The printer recognized the Wi-Fi. I recognized my reflection in a hallway mirror wearing my best expression of belonging. While the file processed, Haley drifted into the kitchen and called, "Ava, there are macarons in the freezer. Take some." I opened the freezer and saw a label maker had named everything. It looked like order had won the war. I shut the freezer, and when I turned, I bumped my bag. It slid, kissed the floor, and popped open the way a heart sometimes does under pressure. My printed pages fluttered like a flock. I exhaled, crouched, gathered. The bag lay on its side, open like a mouth. The inside label, stitched slightly crooked, the letter spacing not quite right, stared at me like a dare. I zipped it and held it like a newborn secret. Haley returned with iced tea the color of expensive amber. "You good?" she asked, handing me a glass. She looked at the bag, then at me, then away, which is sometimes worse than looking too closely. "All good," I said, and my voice sounded like it wanted to be believed. I left with the prints and a headache. On the sidewalk, the bag strap cut into my shoulder like a reminder that pretending has a physical weight. A car eased to the curb, a sleek door opened, a girl I recognized from our building stepped out wearing a coat that had never known a sale rack. "Cute bag," she said absent-mindedly as she passed. I said thank you like a confession. Back in my room, Ruby glanced at me over a textbook that looked secondhand and loved. "You are moving like the air is heavy," she said. I took the bag off my shoulder and set it down with the care you give something fragile and guilty. "Do you ever feel like you are holding up a chandelier by yourself?" I asked. Ruby smiled. Every day, she said. But I switched it to a desk lamp. Less glamorous, still light. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again, because crying felt like a luxury I could not keep doing. Ruby handed me a tissue and did not ask for the story. This is friendship, the offer of a landing without the demand for a flight plan. The next morning, a notification woke me before the sun finished deciding. A tagged photo. Haley's story. We were at the fountain on campus, arms around each other, hair doing what hair does when it is happy. A heart emoji, a caption, "My favorite people." I stared at it until the picture blurred and sharpened and blurred again. Soft vow. I told myself, one more week. One more week of the performance. Then I will tell the truth in a way that does not make me disappear.
I did not know then that I would not have the choice. The truth was already lacing its shoes. It was already jogging toward me with steady breath, ready to arrive in the most public way possible. If you have ever felt your worth shrinking in rooms where wealth expands, I see you. I wish I could tell you my lie ended in a tender conversation and a hug and a brunch where we all agreed to be real. It did not. But the part after the breaking, that part is why I am still here, talking to you. This was the illusion. Next comes the pressure. The bill arrives. The mask sweats. The seam finally gives. Stay with me. Pressure is not always loud. Sometimes it is a polite voice asking, "Are you sure?" While your chest answers, "No," and your mouth says, "Absolutely." After the illusion comes the calendar, the way days line up like creditors. Every invitation has a price. Every silence has one too. It started with the small things multiplying. A latte that used to cost one shift now cost two, because shifts buy other things first. A ride share you justify because the bus makes you late, and lateness looks like poverty even when it is just transit. A sweater that photographs well so you can re-wear it online without being recognized, which is an art I do not recommend becoming good at. I built a spreadsheet on my phone titled Air, because that is what I kept trying to budget. Ruby watched me enter numbers with the seriousness of a surgeon. "That is a lot of math for someone who hates math," she said. I smiled without teeth. "I do not hate math. I hate what it tells me." She nodded like she understood, because she did. We are from the same country, even if our passports say different places. The cafe, where I work, is 2 blocks from campus and 15 inches from disaster. The espresso machine screams like a theater kid. The morning rush is a choreography you learn or you drown. I am excellent at pretending efficiency is a personality trait. "How are you?" customers ask without expecting an answer. "Good," I say, and the word slides across the counter like foam. I got good at microscripts. So cute when someone wears something I cannot afford. You are glowing when a person looks expensive. We should go as a placeholder for, "I will calculate this later." Microscripts help you survive rooms where honesty is considered bad service. Haley, Chloe, and Emma, my girls, my weather, were kind in ways that made the pressure both better and worse. They held doors, they offered rides, they Venmo'd for fun and for nothing. But generosity is its own math. It adds up to a receipt you cannot pay except with more pretending. I kept promising myself I would even it out later. Later is a country I visit in my head when I cannot afford rent in the present. November said holidays, which means sales, which means every ad performs a magic trick where money looks cheaper if you squint. My phone fed me a diet of curated desire. Neutral coats, small gold hoops, a lipstick shade called Air. I laughed when I read it, then closed the app like it had seen me in the mirror. I told myself I would stop with the bag. No more props. Then the laptop happened. Mine wheezed like a geriatric toaster. It worked if I begged, then it did not. In the library, I borrowed one from a friend of a friend, a guy named Thea with a smile like he has never been punished for optimism. The laptop's metal was cold-blooded luxury. I carried it like evidence. Later, in a moment of panic before a group meeting, I stuck a pristine fruit logo sticker over a ding. It was a small, stupid thing, a paper lie on a metal truth, and it made me feel briefly invincible. Here is something I learned. Pretending changes how you stand. Your shoulders memorize the weight, your smile calibrates to the camera before the person, your heart listens for footnotes in every compliment. "You are so put together," someone said. I was not. I was Velcroed. Then came the birthday trip. Not mine, a friend of a friend's whose parties have a name and a theme and a budget you cannot say out loud without summoning lightning. We were invited because we are us. It will be chill, Haley said. Couple nights, we split stuff. The phrase "we split" is a carousel. It looks fun. It makes you sick. I opened my bank app and stared at the number like maybe if I blinked, a secret door would open. It did not. I ran numbers. Rent, textbooks, transit, phone, incidentals, the thing that always happens. There was no room for a party. There was also no room for being the kind of person who says, "I cannot." I typed, "Count me in." Then I typed a shift request to my manager that started with "hi" and ended with "thanks so much," because you have to use exclamation points when you're asking for more work. It is customer service for your boss. We traveled. The hotel lobby had a smell you recognize from commercials: vanilla, cedar, apology. Rooms were keycard hush. The bathroom sink had angles. The windows confessed the city without asking for anything back. We posed, we captioned, we uploaded. I stood in a closet full of air and pretended the hanger was heavy. The bill at the first dinner was a leather folder that could have been a purse. People did the dance. Cards piled like a modern tarot spread. Wealth, 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 hope. I slid mine in, cool as a breeze I could not afford to feel. The server lifted the stack. Minutes later, they were back. "I am so sorry," the server said, softly, expertly. One of the cards declined. She looked at the corner of mine like it was a guilty dog. I rehearsed a smile. "That must be my bank being insane," I said. "Let me call them." Haley's hand floated. Familiar. "Do not even," she said. She set down her card again, gentle as a halo. "We will figure it out later." Later is a cliff. We put our picnic there, smiling for the photos. Back in the room, I called the bank's automated voice that sounds like disappointment in a suit. "Suspicious activity," it said, because poverty is suspicious if it buys too much in a small window of time. I pressed 0 until a person appeared. I learned what I already knew. I said thank you, like gratitude can disguise embarrassment. I hung up and watched my reflection in the black TV screen until I wanted to unplug myself. Haley did not mention the card. Neither did I. Silence is cheaper than truth in rooms like that. Chloe suggested matching necklaces. To remember this, our little era. I nodded, performing the part where you consider options in a price range you pretend is normal. Emma said, "Let me get it for you. Early holiday present." I accepted, because refusing charity is a luxury too. When I returned to campus, my body kept moving like the bill was still chasing me. I ran errands inside my mind: break up with the lie, return the necklace, sell the bag, sell the bag, sell the bag. I held the bag. I could not. It had become a character in my life, a false witness who had seen too much. I made lists on sticky notes. Do this now. Ask for different shifts. Email professor about extension. Call mom about rent? Maybe no. Sell textbooks at semester's end? Breathe. I stuck breathe at eye level. I forgot to read it.
Campus in late fall is a montage. Orange leaves, blue sky, red cups. People in scarves so soft they could be apologies. The library is packed with the sound of ambition. I live there when I can. One afternoon, I watched a girl in a shearling jacket cry in a silent way that says she is fluent in disappointment. We made eye contact across a table. I gave a nod that means same language. She nodded back. This is the secret fraternity. People pretending not to notice the price of belonging. In class, my professor, Dr. Glass, assigned a short essay, Class Performance and Identity in Modern Campuses. I laughed because sometimes the universe is a petty writer. I wrote at 3 a.m., words arriving like late buses. We perform class, I typed, the way actors perform roles on stage, with costume, with cues, with exits when the line cannot be said. I stopped. I stared at the blinking cursor. I wanted to confess in the essay. I did not. I wrote a smart lie about lies. It got an A-. Of course it did. The group project needed supplies. We arranged to meet at Haley's again. Printer, big table, endless sparkling water. Her apartment smells like linen and peppermint money. We spread our papers, we laughed, we argued about fonts like fonts were referendum on character. Somewhere between, does this look cleaner, and can we tighten the slide, I reached into my bag for a highlighter. The zipper stuck. I tugged. The seam whispered a threat. I smiled at no one. I eased it closed. The room kept moving. When I left, the hallway light was too honest, the kind used in interrogation rooms and luxury spas. A neighbor walked by, a woman with a stroller and a life I could not imagine. She glanced at the bag. She did not care. That night, the bag sat on my desk like a witness refusing to testify. Ruby and I ate cheap soup, the kind that relies on salt and hope. She watched me blow on the spoon like I had time. Ava, she said gently, whatever you're carrying, it is carrying you back. I stared at her for a beat too long. If I put it down, I asked, do I still have friends? She considered. If the only thing they like is what you carry, she said, they are not friends. They are customs agents. I snorted soup. We laughed. Then I cried for exactly 12 seconds. Then I stopped because I had to finish a slide. It was final season's rehearsal. The library extended hours. The cafe extended hours. I extended myself until the word stretch lost meaning. My mother texted, I got an extra shift. We are okay this month. My father sent a thumbs up emoji that felt like a prayer. I typed back heart emojis because love is free in that shape. On a Tuesday, Haley tagged us in a story. Study night, survive, thrive, caffeinate. The boomerang showed her pouring milk into coffee like she was a magician. I reposted. It felt like paying rent in visibility. 2 days later, Chloe posted a post dump. The 6th slide was a close-up of her hand and mine intertwined, rings like punctuation. In the corner, blurry but readable, was my bag's logo. The comments were all hearts and queens. Then a stranger, username like a shoe brand, commented, wait, is that logo spacing off? Another reply, could be vintage. Another, stitching looks sus. I read them the way a person reads weather updates before a picnic. Steadying breath. I told myself it would pass. Most storms in public pass if you remain very still. This one did not. The next day, in our economics lecture, the room hummed with the sound of people performing attention. My phone vibrated in a pattern that says not one text, many. I did not look. I believed in finishing. After class, in the hallway, I looked. A DM from someone I did not know. Hey girl, random, but is your brand real? Then another. No hate, just curious. Then another with a screenshot of a message board thread where people like to feel like detectives. The thread title, Fake Rich Girl on Campus. The photos were cropped, the comments were not kind. I breathed. I typed to no one, breathe. I deleted it. I walked to the bathroom, because bathrooms are where girls go to fix and fall apart. In the mirror, my face looked fine. I am very good at fine. A stall door opened. Emma stepped out. We blinked at each other. She washed her hands like a person in a movie who was about to ask a dangerous question softly. People are bored, she said. They will move on. I nodded. Probably. She met my eyes in the mirror. Is it real? I said, it is vintage. The word tasted like sugar that has started to burn. Emma dried her hands slowly. I do not care, she said. I care that you care that I care. We both smiled the way girls smile when the truth is a hallway we do not walk down yet. That night, I closed my door. I put the bag on my bed. I turned off the overhead light and used a lamp so everything would forgive me. I opened the bag. I rested my fingers on the crooked label. You have been good to me, I whispered, because I talk to objects when people are not safe. But you are not a shield anymore. I took photos, the kind resell sites like Clean, Close, Careful. I drafted a listing. Pre-loved, good condition, minor wear. I did not upload it. I saved it to drafts, like courage. I also made a second listing, private, just for me. Item, belonging. Condition, used. Notes, will accept trades for honesty. I laughed at my own melodrama, then I cried at it too.
The next morning, I woke to a text from Haley. Brunch? My treat. I want to run by the farmer's market, too. She added a heart and a peach because she likes emojis that look like fruit and feelings. I said yes because saying no was a skill I had misplaced. We met on a patio that pretended it was spring. She hugged me, extra long, like she knew something and was letting me borrow her steadiness. We ordered pancakes that wore berries like crowns. We talked about nothing important in a way that felt like a bandage. Then Haley said, very light, like placing a feather on the table, "Can I ask you about the thread?" I swallowed syrup. What thread? I lied with the kind of confidence that comes from exhaustion. She tilted her head. You can say no, she said. I will still love you. People can be cruel. She squeezed her straw until it squeaked. If you need to borrow something ever, you can. You do not have to, perform. Something inside me unclenched. Thank you, I said. The rest of the sentence was a cliff. Down below was the truth. Up here was the brunch. I stayed up here. We walked the market. I bought nothing. Haley bought peaches and kindness. We sat on a curb like teenagers. She took a candid of me biting an apricot and posted it with angel energy. I reposted it with 2 stars because star emojis are free and look expensive. By evening, the comments under Chloe's dump had multiplied. Someone uploaded a side-by-side comparison, my bag and a real one, arrows, circles, a tone of satisfaction people get when they solve a person. A DM arrived from an account named Truth for You. People are saying crazy stuff. If you want me to defend you, send proof of purchase and I will shut this down. I blocked them. It felt like swatting at bees. Let me say this clearly. You do not have to prove your worth to strangers. But I also know this. Sometimes the story runs without you, and by the time you start, it has already decided its ending. The next day, as the sky folded into evening, I stood behind the cafe counter, picking up a shift I had not planned to take. A group of students stood in line, wearing the casual uniforms of people who can afford to improvise. Sweats that cost more than my textbooks.
2 girls whispered, glanced, whispered again. One held up her phone, then lowered it. I pretended the blender was louder than it is. After close, I sat on a milk crate in the back, hands smelling like espresso and lemon cleaner. My manager, Henry, leaned on the doorframe and said, "Finals eating you?" I shrugged. "I am chewy," I said. He laughed. He handed me a wrapped sandwich no one claimed. "Eat," he said, fatherly without the accidents of my father. I ate half and saved half. Pressure makes you ration kindness. Back in my dorm, Ruby was sprawled on the floor doing a budget the way some people do puzzles. "We should run away," she said into the carpet. "Become fishermen." I lay next to her. "Fisher women," I corrected. "Right," she said. "Do we know how to fish?" "No." "Perfect," she said. We stared at the ceiling like it was a map. Then my phone lit up the room. A notification. Then another so fast the light looked like an emergency vehicle. Haley's username at the top of my screen. New story. I tapped. A boomerang of Haley and Chloe clinking glasses. Cute. Next. A still photo. The fountain again. Our arms again. Text overlay. People are bored. Touch grass. I exhaled. Relief is a small animal. Then the third story loaded. A screenshot from the message board. Usernames blurred, arrows pointing to my bag's logo. Haley's caption in white letters. "This is bullying." I blinked. Grateful. Disoriented. Then the fourth story, a video. The camera is in Haley's hand, facing her smooth, brave face. "Hi," she says. "Gossip is not a personality. If you want to prove how real you are, try kindness." Then the camera flips. It lands on me. Earlier that afternoon, I realize, when I was laughing at some dumb joke, head thrown back, unaware. The caption at the bottom, "She is my friend." I should have felt protected, loved. My chest did a complicated thing. Thank you braided to panic. Because now the story was not dying. It was evolving. It had more eyes, more opinions, more heat. 15 minutes later, someone posted a new thread. "Rich friend defending fake?" The comments organized themselves into teams. Team Tender, "Leave her alone." Team Teeth, "Lying is lying." Team Amateur Detective, "Here are factories where fakes come from." Team Sociologist, "This is about class." Team Performance, "Same, I pretend too." I read until my vision fuzzed. Ruby took my phone gently. "Enough," she said, voice kind, final. "You are not a thread." I looked at my bag where it sat on the chair like a tired animal. I thought of everything it had held for me. Pens, receipts, breath. I thought of the first time someone said, "Love your bag," and how my spine straightened like a plant turning toward light. I thought of my mother, who has loved me in cheap shoes and cheap dinners and expensive fear. "I cannot do this," I said. "I cannot be a museum exhibit for other people's judgment." Ruby nodded. "So stop." I closed my eyes. Somewhere under the noise, a simple door waited. I opened my eyes. I picked up my phone. I opened my story composer. A blank rectangle looked back at me like a soft dare. I typed, "Hi, it is me. I am turning off comments for my sanity. If you have questions, talk to me, not about me." I hovered over post. My thumb trembled like a small truth trying to learn to walk. I posted. It helped for exactly 10 minutes. Then a new account appeared with my photo as their icon and a handle that mocked me. They posted side-by-sides, arrows, educational content about spotting fakes. I blocked. They multiplied. I learned something I wish I did not know. Shame has good Wi-Fi. The next day in ethics, Dr. Glass began class with a discussion prompt on honesty as a social contract. I felt my throat become a fist. A student raised his hand and said, "White lies make communities possible." Another said, deception erodes trust. Someone else, with a smirk, said, what about fashion lies? Laughter, mild and mean. I stared at the grain of the desk until it looked like a map where I could hide. After class, Dr. Glass stopped me at the door. Ava, he said, professional warmth, your last essay, spare and sharp. You have a good ear for performance. I almost asked him if he could hear mine. I said, thank you. By evening, the thread metastasized. Screenshots buzzed like a swarm. I set my phone face down, and it still glowed through the case, a lighthouse for shipwreck. Then Haley texted, can you come by? Now if you can. I baked. A cupcake emoji, a heart. I stared at it. Ruby looked up from her homework. Go, she said. If she is making cupcakes, she is either happy or scared. Either way, she is feeding someone. The hallway to Haley's door smelled like citrus and decisions. When she opened, her face looked like sleep had not been kind. On the counter, actual cupcakes, pink frosting twirled like optimism. Chloe was there, arms folded. Emma, too, sitting on the floor like that might make gravity easier to negotiate. Haley handed me a cupcake. Sugar, she announced, for courage. We all bit in like a ceremony. Haley set her cupcake down and wiped frosting from her lip. Okay, she said, voice steady with effort. I want to say this clean. I love you, I hate the internet, and I need to ask you a real question. I nodded, my heart knocking softly at my ribs like a polite landlord. Is your bag real? The room did not breathe. I did. I said, vintage, for the last time as if the word could hold up the ceiling. Haley's eyes did a small, sad thing. Emma looked at the floor. Chloe did not blink. I felt something in me take its shoes off. I said no. Finally. It is not real.
Silence is a shape. It sat with us at the counter. Then Haley moved first, the way she always does. She reached for my hand. Thank you, she said. I needed the truth. A tiny laugh, broken, kind. I hate that I had to ask. Chloe's mouth made a thin line. Why lie? She asked. Not unkind, not kind either. Curious, the way a person is about a stain. I met her eyes. Because I did not want to be left, I said. Because I wanted to be the kind of person who gets generosity without the terms and conditions. Because sometimes pretending is the only affordable version of hope. Emma exhaled, long. I get it, she said. Not the bag part, but the... She circled a hand in the air. Performing. She looked at Haley, then at me. People online are being vicious. We can report, we can block, we can post. Haley nodded. We can also say something. She swallowed. Together. I nodded, tears gathering like a team. Thank you, I said. I do not want a war, just quiet. Haley squeezed my fingers. We can do quiet. Chloe, precise, added, also, if you ever need to borrow something, you ask. That is what closets are for. It was as close to tenderness as Chloe gives. I took it. We sat on the floor with cupcakes and a problem shaped like my name. We drafted statements that sounded like friendship and not like PR. We agreed to ignore bait. We promised not to subtweet. We each broke that promise in small, human ways later. When I left, the hallway felt less like an X-ray. The elevator hummed like a friend. I held the bag light in my hand. Suddenly just an object, not a throne. Back in my room, I placed the bag on the chair. I opened my drafts. The resale listing looked back at me, patient. I almost pressed post. I did not.
I turned my phone face down. It still glowed. Pressure had not broken me yet. It had only thinned me out until the next touch would show light through. And that touch was coming. Sharp, public, mean. I wish I could say the truth set me free the way books promise. First, it set me on fire. Exposure is not the sun on your skin. It is the light you did not ask for, arriving when you are not posed. It is the camera that says, "Look here," and then keeps rolling when you look away. I did not plan for a reveal. I planned for a quiet pivot. But the internet loves a stage more than it loves a solution. 2 mornings after cupcakes and clarity at Haley's, I woke to a campus that felt like it had been rearranged overnight. The air was crisp, the quad was loud with optimism, finals posters flapped on bulletin boards. My phone, which I had promised not to check first thing, sang anyway. Notifications, mentions, a DM from an account with a blue check that I wished I did not recognize. Her name is Lila Wynn, student, micro-influencer, owner of a smile that sells face wash and a calendar that sells aspirational time. We had taken one photo together in September at a charity booth. I was in the background, blurry, which is how I prefer fame. The DM was short. "Hey babe, people sent me stuff. Want to chat before I post?" I stared at it until the words started to separate like oil and water. Then I typed, "About what?" She replied with a screenshot, cropped close on the logo of my bag, annotated with arrows like a textbook. "This is mean," she wrote. "I want to say something, but it is your story." The problem was that the story was not mine anymore. It was public property with an admission fee of humiliation. I typed, "Please do not." I erased it. I typed, "This is complicated." I erased that too. I finally wrote, "If you post, do not use my name." She sent a heart, neutral as a receipt. I put on jeans that had cost me 3 shifts and a sweatshirt from the campus bookstore that tried to announce belonging. I braided my hair. I told my face to be resilient. I met Ruby in the hallway. She assessed me like a medic. "It is bad?" she asked. I nodded. "It will be worse before it is over." She squeezed my hand. "Then do not go alone." We walked together. Economics lecture at 10 a.m. 100 students in a room designed by someone who thinks discomfort keeps you alert. I opened my laptop. I placed a pen on the desk like a ritual object. Dr. Glass handed out case studies, voice like a calm podcast. I tried to listen. My phone vibrated like an animal that wants to be known. I flipped it face down. It vibrated again and again. The girl 2 seats over glanced at me, then at the glow under my phone like it was a campfire no one had invited her to. When class ended, Dr. Glass asked for questions. A boy in a varsity jacket raised his hand, asked something about signaling and markets. Dr. Glass said, "We signal with prices and with performances." He looked around the room, eyes landing on everything and nothing. "We should ask what our signals cost." I felt seen without being called by name, which is either mercy or torture, depending on the day. Measured transition. Outside, the courtyard had tilted. Laughter sounded like it was happening just behind me. The sun did the thing it always does. Shone. I finally looked at my phone. Leela had posted a story series, Campus Kindness Thread. It began gently. No shaming, no dragging, just perspective. Slide 2, luxury is not personality. Slide 3, if you cannot afford it, do not fake it, but also do not harass people who do. Slide 4 was the problem. A blurred photo, my silhouette unmistakable, if you know me, captioned, "Remember that we never know someone's story." It was kind. It was also a map. People followed it. They found me. The DMs arrived in squads.
Team confessional. I faked it too. Here is my story. Team judge. You lied. You deserve this. Team savior. Delete your accounts. I can help. Team entertained. Girl, this is wild. Small, quiet messages that mattered. Are you okay? From one person who sat behind me in sociology and always lens notes. Need anything? From Theo, the optimist with the laptop. I typed back, thank you. I am okay. This was partially true. I was okay the way a building is okay while fire alarms scream. Upright, but not safe. Slower. Cinematic. I had a presentation in communications that afternoon, a small, graded talk on narrative framing. I was prepared. My slides were clean, my notes precise. Topic: the stories we tell about ourselves. I walked into the classroom and felt the temperature drop 2 degrees. Eyes flicked up and down like they were scanning a barcode. Calm, professional tone. My turn. I stood, I clicked. Slide 1, a photo of a stage. I said, we all stand somewhere, and we all choose what to bring into the light. A few heads tilted, interested, polite. I said, sometimes we bring props. I clicked to a photo of a crown and a paper crown. A few laughs. I moved on, hands unclenched, words like bricks I knew how to stack. Then a hand went up mid-sentence. A girl I did not know. She said, can I ask, is your bag real? The room reacted like a coin drop in a cathedral. Tiny echoes. Dr. Morales opened his mouth to intervene, then closed it, curious which curriculum would triumph, his or the world's. Quiet bravery. I looked at the girl. I looked at my slide, paper crown, real crown. I looked at my bag resting on the floor by my chair like a pet waiting to be fed. Slow, clear, I said, no, it is not. And the story I am telling now is not about leather. It is about why a girl thinks she needs leather to be allowed to speak. A soft murmur. Someone coughed. Someone else typed very fast. Measured, holding. I finished the presentation. Clean, precise, a little stripped of flourishes. Dr. Morales gave a tight nod. Thank you, Ava, he said, voice formal with respect he had not planned to use today. When I sat down, my hands trembled the way a person shakes after a car stops at a red light.
After class, the girl who had asked approached me. She had the kind of face that could go either way, kind or cruel, depending on weather. I am sorry, she said, not quite steady. I should not have asked like that. It was cheap. I surprised both of us by smiling. Curiosity does not owe me gentleness, I said, but I prefer it. She nodded, eyes shiny. Me too. By evening, my name was unblurred in forums that think they are journalism. Someone had found my high school yearbook, my track times, my mother's Facebook full of birthday cakes shaped like love. A Twitter thread with 100 replies debated whether scholarship students should be truth verified before joining certain clubs. And then there was the post that changed everything. A short video, shot on a phone, uploaded by an account with 30,000 followers and a bio that said consumer education. The video showed 2 bags side by side, then cut to a zoom of a stitch, then a certificate with a watermark, then a screen record of Chloe's photo dump with my blurred bag corner. The caption, spot the fake, protect your coin. I did not have a coin to protect. I did have a face to lose. Haley called. I am reporting, she said, words flat with fury. Emma too. Chloe, she reported, then DM'd the poster, which, okay, not my method, but she did it. I thanked them. I stared at the ceiling. I told myself I was in a room, not in a courtroom. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I declined. It rang again. Declined. A text followed. This is campus student media. Would love a quote to include with our piece. I had become content. Back in the dorm, Ruby sat cross-legged, a fortress of index cards all around. She looked up, read my face in under a second. Sit, she said, pointing at the bed. I sat. She handed me water like the nurse I cannot afford. So, we stared at each other. I began to talk in the voice you use when you confess something tender and stupid. I thought I could control it, the size of the lie, the direction of it. Keep it small, keep it useful, keep it mine. I rubbed my knuckles. Now strangers are writing my biography. Ruby listened the way people do who know how to live on the other side of spectacle. Do you want to disappear for a bit? My cousin's couch is free. It smells like cilantro and dog, but no one will ask you to explain yourself to their phone. I smiled. Thank you. I cannot run. I looked at the bag. I can't stop carrying this, though. Ruby nodded. Start somewhere. I pulled the bag from the chair. I set it on my lap, like a story I was ready to finish. I opened my resell app. Drafts. The photos looked sterile and kind. I wrote the description again, more honestly. Replica. Good condition. Selling to pay for textbooks. Do not be cruel in messages. I hovered over list. I pressed. A ping. Listing live. Another ping. An offer. Another. Question. Is it super obvious?
Next, I opened my own Instagram. I did not post a manifesto. I did not post a Notes app apology with a serif font. I posted a photo of my hands holding a coffee cup. Caption: I cannot control what you think of me. I can control what I carry. I am putting some things down. Comments turned off. It felt less like strategy and more like oxygen. The following day, I decided to walk to class without my bag. I put my laptop in a tote Ruby had gotten for free at a blood drive. It said "Give" in red letters. I liked the mess of that, me walking around with a bag that told the truth. On the quad, a boy from my statistics section jogged to catch up. "Hey," he said, awkward, earnest. "Saw stuff. People are people. If you need help with notes or anything, I am around." His ears turned pink. "I am not hitting on you," he added. I laughed. Actually laughed. "Thank you," I said. "I may take you up on the notes." At the entrance to the library, two girls whispered and then did not whisper. "That is her," one said. Not cruel, like she was pointing out a landmark. The other said, "She looks normal." I wanted to turn, to say, "I am," but normal is PR. I went inside. On the third floor, near the windows that behave like therapy, I found a table. I opened my laptop. I inhaled. I started to edit an essay, fingers moving like they knew a path back to ordinary. A shadow fell across the table. I looked up. Eleanor, the president of a sorority that accepts my friends and not me, stood there holding a coffee like it owed her money. She smiled with her teeth. "Ava, right?" she said. "We have not officially met." I nodded. "Hi." She gestured at the chair. "Can I?" I did not want to say yes. I did. She sat, crossed her legs, the sound of expensive fabric being confident. "I wanted to check in," she said, voice soothing as weapon. "Campus can be intense. We are big on women supporting women." She tilted her head. "But honesty is part of that, no?" I held her gaze like a fence. "It is." She smiled, satisfied. "So, advice." She leaned in. "Apologize properly, not poetic. People appreciate form. Then, vanish for a week. Come back with bangs." I blinked. "Thank you," I said, unsure which part I was receiving. She stood, radiant with self-appointment. "You will be fine," she said. "You have the face for a comeback." She walked away. I looked at Ruby's tote. "Give." I whispered, "I am trying." And then came the ugliest moment.
Not a post, not a forum, a circle of girls outside the humanities building, smoking as if it were a class. I passed with my tote. One of them, bangs sharp as a note, said, loud enough, "If you cannot afford it, thrift a personality." Laughter, thin and brittle. I stopped. I almost turned. My spine did the math of confrontation. Then behind me, a voice, calm, low, said, "Or thrift some empathy." I turned. Theo, hands in pockets, looking like sunshine picked a major. The girls rolled their eyes in unison and dissolved, not sorry, just bored. I looked at Theo. "Thank you," I said. He shrugged, deflecting. "Want coffee?" "I cannot pay," I said, reflexively. He grinned. "I can. I'm rich in loyalty cards."
We sat on a bench with coffees that tasted like forgiveness. He did not ask for the story. He told me his. Parents divorced, scholarship kid, faked being chill for 2 years before realizing he is actually anxious and likes planners. We both laughed in the key of relief. He said, the problem with faking is not that it is false. It is that it is lonely. We watched a dog chase a leaf like meaning. Then we went to class. The day did not end, but it did continue. That night, the student paper published their piece. Headline: Luxury, Lies, and the Price of Belonging. It was not awful. It quoted experts who said things like, class performance is adaptive behavior. It quoted anonymous students who said things like, lying is lying. It ended with a line that stuck to my ribs. The question is not whether one girl lied. It is why a campus made lying feel like a prerequisite. I screenshot that line and sent it to Ruby. She responded with a heart and a potato emoji for no reason at all. It helped. And then, as if the internet decided there should be a moral, a new post climbed to the top of the message board. Proof. The video began with a counter display. Glass, bright lights, a clerk's hands. A voice, off camera, asked, "Can you authenticate this?" The clerk replied, "We do not authenticate replicas." The camera pulled back. My bag, in frame, unmistakable. Someone, unknown, had taken it to a consignment shop and recorded the refusal. The voiceover said, "Sweetly cruel. Case closed." I stared. My throat did a small, dry earthquake. Who filmed it? How did they have my bag? Then my brain caught up. The zipper pull, the small scratch near the edge shaped like a comma. It was not my bag. It was a bag, a twin in a world where twins are mass-produced. The video was theater dressed as proof. It did not matter. It worked like proof. The thread erupted, busted, knew it. Imagine lying over a purse. Imagine needing one to be seen. I closed the app. I sat very still, like a person about to stand on stage and needing the floor to be known first. I picked up my phone again. New DM, from Haley. Come over. No emoji. Urgent. Clean. I slipped on sneakers. I told Ruby with my eyes. She nodded. Go. Haley's door opened before I knocked. Her face, blotchy, furious. Emma on the couch, jaw set. Chloe by the window, arms folded like architecture. On the counter, my tote bag. Not the other one. A printed stack of screenshots like case files. Haley spoke first. "We are not doing this," she said, each word deliberate, a verdict. They faked proof. She tossed the printouts like cards. Different scratch, different corner, even the clerk's nails are different. I felt something inside me lift its head. "It does not matter," I said softly. "The story outpaced the facts."
Chloe, precise, said, "Then we become louder than the lie." Emma nodded. "We could go live together. Say what is true. Not a sob story, just human." Haley looked at me. "Only if you want. We do not owe anyone a show." I thought about Eleanor's advice. Apologize, disappear, get bangs.
I thought about the girls outside humanities. I thought about Theo's sentence. Faking is lonely. I thought about my mother's hands. Okay, I said. We do it. On my terms. We propped a phone on a stack of cookbooks. The three of them flanked me like pillars. I looked into the tiny glass eye. Hi, I said, voice even. I am Ava. Many of you do not know me. Some of you think you do. Here is the truth. I bought a replica bag. I wore it because I wanted to feel safe in rooms where money speaks first. It was dumb. It was also human. I am learning other ways to belong. I am selling it. I am using the money for textbooks. I am not asking for applause. I am asking for quiet. Be kind to each other. If you cannot, be quiet to each other. I ended the live before comments could bloom teeth. We posted the replay for 24 hours. Then we deleted it, preemptively choosing peace. The responses were a quilt. Proud of you. Finally. Imagine confessing theft. It is not theft. It is fraud. It is survival. The loudest thing, though, was the dulling. The machine got briefly bored. A new campus scandal, shinier, arrived by evening. Someone's projectors were hacked with means. The crowd wandered. Morning. I woke to a message from Dr. Glass. Office hours today? I would like to talk if you are willing. I put on the softest sweater I own. In his office, books leaned like old men resting on one another. He gestured at a chair. Ava, he said, looking at me as if I were not content, but person. You navigated a public shame with private intelligence. I smiled. With friends. He nodded. That too. He slid a printed flyer across the desk. The department hosts a small colloquium in January. Narratives of self in public space. Would you consider presenting? You have a case study. I hesitated. Is that allowed? He smiled at the word. Allowed? It is necessary. I left the office feeling like someone had slightly widened the hallway. Outside, the sky did not perform. It existed. I texted Ruby. I texted Haley, Chloe, Emma. Thank you. I texted my mother, I love you. She replied with a heart and a photo of soup she made after a night shift. Thick, orange, warm. Proof that nutrition is also love. In the evening, I took the bag from the chair. I wrapped it in tissue. I slid it into a plain box. I wrote the buyer's address with clear handwriting. At the bottom of the note inside, I wrote, "Take care. Be kind to yourself." At the mailbox, I held the package a second longer than necessary. Then I let go. The box disappeared into a blue mouth that does not judge. Exposure did not end me. It did not absolve me either. It made me visible to myself. There is a cost to that. But there's also a dividend. Quiet. Earned honestly. I thought that would be the end. It was not. The exposure had one more act. Standing in front of a room and saying my name into a microphone without a prop. Telling a truth that did not require a defense. Telling it in a way that might make someone else put a heavy thing down. Stay with me. The redemption is not neat. It is real. Indemption, I am learning, is not applause. It is the quiet you earn after telling the truth out loud and surviving the echo. It is a hallway you walk slowly, touching the walls, noticing the paint chips you never saw when you were sprinting. There is no confetti in this part. There is breath. There is a door you open for yourself. The box with the bag had been swallowed by the blue mailbox mouth, and for a full day after, my hands kept reaching for the weight that was gone. That is how pretending works. It lingers in muscle memory, like choreography after the music stops. Ruby caught me patting the air where the strap would have been and lifted an eyebrow.
Phantom limb? She asked. Gentle tease? Gentle care? Yes, I said, smiling. Also, relief. Like a room just got a window.
Observational detail. Campus moved forward. The forums found a new scandal. The faces looking at me looked more like faces again and less like search engines. Haley texted less, but better. When we spoke, it was about real things. Her grandmother's memory slipping like a cardigan, a grade that surprised her, the guilt she felt about a coat that cost rent. Chloe stayed Chloe. Precise, generous in a way that does not perform itself. Emma sent me memes at 1 a.m. like they were vitamins. Theo became a constant. Walks between classes, coffee on loyalty points, silence that is the best kind of conversation. And I started sleeping. Not the kind where your body collapses from the weight of pretending, but the kind with dreams that do not wear shoes. Then January arrived, bringing what Dr. Glass had called a colloquium, but felt, to me, like a cliff. Narratives of self in public space. 15 minutes on a podium. A microphone, a room of undergrads, faculty, and the quiet presence of people who like to watch and decide. He emailed a week in advance. Only if you want. I responded, I want. I am terrified. He replied a single word. Good. Terror means your truth is awake. I wrote. I rewrote. I printed out my talk and then deleted it and then rebuilt it from 6 sentences that refused to lie. Ruby sat on the floor, highlighter in her fingers, not marking anything, just holding the marker like support. Read it to me, she said. I did. My voice shook in the places where the ground is new. She did not interrupt. When I finished, she set the highlighter down like a BDB. That is the voice, she said. Do not decorate it. I called my mother. The hospital corridor was behind her, long, fluorescent, endless. Mija, she said, smile lines you cannot fake. You sound rested. I am giving a talk, I told her, at school, about me. She tilted her head. About what part? About the part where I thought I had to be somebody else to be worth loving. She drew in a breath the way a person does when a bruise is touched. And now? And now I am practicing being loved as myself. Her smile was small and bright. I will light a candle. I will put it in a safe place so the nurses do not yell. You will be brave. You have always been brave. You were brave when you were 6 and told a bully that our shoes were not broken, they were, quote, well-traveled. I laughed, and the laugh steadied me. I wish you could be there. I will be, she said, tapping her chest. Here. The lecture room smelled like pencils and nervousness, chairs and rows, a lectern that had listened to 100 versions of courage, a pitcher of water sweating onto a tray. Dr. Glass adjusted the mic level with ritual care. Students buzzed, the way bees buzz when deciding on a new place to live. Haley sat in the second row, no makeup, just eyes. Emma beside her, hoodie soft as apology. Chloe near the aisle, posture like a lighthouse. Theo leaned against the wall, hands in pockets, smile not for the room, but for me. Ruby sat front and center with a spiral notebook she did not open. Dr. Glass introduced the session with words like signal and authenticity and the economy of self. He gestured to me. I stood. My knees did not buckle. Good. Hi, I said into the mic, and the amplification made my own voice sound like a friend I had finally met in person. I am Ava. I come from a 1-bedroom apartment over a laundromat that sighs warm at sunset, from a kitchen where my mother measures love in soups, from a closet that has known repetition and repair.
I want to talk about identity as inventory, specifically the items we think we need to carry to be admitted into certain rooms. Mine was a bag, a replica, a falsehood on my shoulder that felt like safety. I'm not here to scandalize you, I said, steadying. You have likely been scandalized enough this year, and none of that paid your tuition. A ripple of laughter, soft, grateful. I am here to tell you what I learned when the lie I told to feel less alone made me lonelier. I learned that approval is a lease. You can live in it, but it will never be yours. I learned that the loudest part of shame is not other people's voices, it is the echo of your own. I learned that friends are not the people who hand you silence like a muzzle. They are the ones who hold your truth while you find your breath. And I learned that the body keeps the score of pretending. Your shoulders will ache in the shape of a strap long after you set it down. So put it down sooner. I told them about the forums, about the screenshots that tried to make a human into a case study. I told them about being asked during a presentation on narratives if my bag was real. It wasn't, I said into the mic, letting the sentence land without qualifiers, without footnotes. The room was still. Stillness is respect when it is chosen. This is not a cautionary tale about fashion. It is a question about the price coverage we accept as normal. What happens to a campus when the price of admission into safety is a lie? What happens to a person who cannot afford that lie anymore?
I have answers that fit me. I sold the prop. I kept the friends. I stopped performing the version of myself who was always one purchase away from being allowed to exist. Your answers will be different, but maybe you can ask yourself, what heavy thing am I carrying for people who would not carry me? I am not asking for forgiveness, I finished. I am asking for design changes in our rooms, in our syllabi, in our clubs, in our jokes. Let us not build spaces where lying feels like the last affordable option. Thank you. The room held its breath, then released it in sound. Applause that began careful and then grew honest. I do not love clapping. It feels like too many hands on me. But this clapping felt like a door opening at both ends. Me walking out lighter, others walking in with their own heavy things. Questions followed, gentle and not. How do we balance empathy with accountability? A student asked, hair in a messy bun of sincerity. We start with names, I said. Ava is a person, not a thread. A faculty member asked, what practices helped you recenter? Breathing like it matters, walking without my phone, borrowing silence from the library windows, and telling one person the whole sentence, not the edited caption. Another student raised his hand, eyes bright. What would you tell first-year you? I smiled. Neutral colors are not a personality, I said. Laughter. And this is the important part. Being broke is not a moral failure. It is a circumstance. Do not decorate your shame. Dismantle the room that asked you to be ashamed. After, people approached, some with words, some with eyes. A girl whispered, I sell replicas online. I am stopping. Another said, I hide my food insecurity. I am tired. Theo hugged me exactly the right length. No performance, just 2 arms and a human. Ruby stepped up and pressed a small folded paper into my hand. Later, in my room, I opened it. Inside, she had written in careful block letters, You are enough at factory settings. The days after the talk did not turn me into a saint. They turned me into a person with fewer corners. I dropped a class I took to look impressive and replaced it with one I took to be alive. Intro to Documentary Storytelling. The professor, a woman with hair like a thundercloud and a laugh like weather, said on day 1, The camera is a truth sifter. It also lies. Learn both. I applied for a campus job that was not customer-facing, archiving oral histories. The application asked for a short statement of purpose. I wrote, "Because I want to help people keep the parts of their story that the internet cannot metabolize." I got the job. I learned how to digitize a grandmother's wartime letter, how to label laughter that interrupts sorrow, how to catalog ordinary miracles. Haley and I recalibrated. She still has a coat that costs rent, but now we can talk about it without pretending it was ethically knit by angels. Sometimes she leaves price tags on the counter like confessions. We laugh. Emma and I take late walks and talk about feelings like they are weather systems. Chloe and I will never share a sweater, but we share a respect made from shards and glue. Theo and I do not label what we are. We share a bench and a calendar and a patience. He brings me coffee. I remind him to drink water. We practice a romance that does not rent identity to afford dinner. My mother watched a recording of my talk on a borrowed tablet. When we called, her eyes were wet. "Mija," she said, voice thick with pride. "You spoke like you were standing on something solid." "I was," I said. "Myself." She nodded. "And your father?" I looked at him off screen, in our apartment kitchen, pretending to cut onions and actually cutting onions. He lifted a hand in a wave, embarrassed by love. "He is proud," she said for him. "He says, tell them the truth earlier next time so you pay less interest." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. "That is good," I said. "Tell him I will." An email arrived from the Student Services Office. "We are forming a task force on economic inclusion. Would you contribute?" I said yes, the kind of yes I did not know how to say 3 months ago. In the first meeting, someone suggested a Dress for Success closet. I suggested we rename it Campus Wardrobe, because success is not a blazer, it is a bus pass and a professor who reads your name without sighing. We added a textbook lending library. We added a small grant for emergency life. We added workshops titled How to Say No When Everyone is Saying Yes. The changes were small, they were a start. Redemption lives in the start. On Sundays, I go to the laundromat where I grew up and sit for a while on the warm edge of a machine. The heat is the same, the hum is the same. A little boy once stared at our clothes and asked his mother, "Do shirts get dizzy?" She said, "Only if you watch them too long." I do not watch too long. I close my eyes and memorize the sound of something ordinary doing its work. And this recording, this is me practicing the kind of story I needed, the one that does not turn me into a villain or a lesson or a saint. It is just a girl who lied because she was tired and then told the truth because she wanted to sleep. It is a bridge for anyone standing on the bank of a river named Pretend, wondering if they will drown crossing. You will not. The water is cold, but the shore is real. If you are listening and you are carrying an item you cannot afford, a bag, a watch, a username, a laugh that hurts your throat, put it down. Try 1 hour without it, then 2, then a day. Text one friend the whole sentence, not the caption. Eat something warm. Stand near a window. You are allowed to be unbranded and beloved at the same time. Revisiting earlier characters, closure notes. A week after the talk, I ran into Eleanor, the sorority president with weaponized serenity, outside the student center. She regarded me like a piece of art she had decided she did not hate. "No bangs," she observed. "No bangs," I agreed. She nodded. "Good choice," she said, like a queen pardoning a peasant. Then, softer than I expected, "Your talk was useful." "Thank you," I said, surprised at the word she chose. Useful is honest. "Do you need anything?" she added, almost human. "Yes," I said, holding her gaze. "Less screens. More chairs." She tilted her head.
Noted. Later, I got a DM from the account that had once been named Truth for You. New name? Kindness for You. New bio? We were bored. We are learning. I did not follow back. I did not block. I let it exist without feeding it. Not every wound needs a bandage. Some need air. One afternoon, I sat by the big library window, the one that behaves like therapy, and watched a girl in a shiny new jacket take a selfie, tilt left, tilt right, approve. A boy behind her dropped his stack of photocopies. Papers flew like tired birds. She did not see. I stood, gathered his pages, handed them back. He said, "Thanks," looking embarrassed to be human in public. I said, "It is allowed." We both smiled, tiny and real. Here is the grace I promised at the beginning. You cannot buy belonging. You can only practice it until your body remembers. Practice looks like telling the truth to one person, and then to yourself, and then to a room. Practice looks like putting the heavy thing in a box and letting the blue mouth of the mailbox eat it without an obituary. Practice looks like building rooms where no one has to bring props. If you forget, remember this. You are enough at factory settings.
I am Ava. I lied because I was hungry. I told the truth because I wanted to be fed. If you see me on campus carrying a tote that says give, wave. I will wave back. Maybe we will share a bench. Maybe we will share a silence. That would be nice. Thank you for listening. If this helped, pass it on to the one person in your phone who is carrying something too heavy. Tell them there is a place to set it down. It is smaller than they think. It is right here.